Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for joining this roundtable this morning. There's still some people coming. We'll let them take a seat. And we start softly. Thank you all for coming to this roundtable. We will answer to this question around ERD, XDR, MDR, miracle solutions for hospitals. It is a question, so of course it involves an answer, and I will immediately answer to this because no, these tools are not a miracle solution for hospitals. Of course, if there were miracle solutions, we would know it, we will all have it, and everything would be perfect in the best world. But as you know, in cybersecurity, it does not work that way. It is a game, a constant game, a chasing tag with experts such like you who try to always be ahead. And on the other side, we have adversaries that are always trying to be smarter and sneakier and find backdoors, vulnerabilities to exploit. It is an endless quest. And this is why we have to be always ahead in terms of weapon, and so EDR, XDR are a new add-on to this protection that we would like to bring on for fighting against cybercriminality. But it's only a piece, an element. It's not a miracle solution. However, we won't stop here. If not, we could all say goodbye. We will find a lot of things to exchange. We have a very large topic. So if these tools are not a miracle solution, we'll try to think and see how these tools work on protection. Are they relevant? Are they adapted for the specific topic of health? And you are very numerous here today coming from this health industry to protect our hospitals. So how, for these tools, AI can intervene? How does it contribute to this protection? And on a more practical aspect, what are the choices, criteria, and of course the precocious aspect that you have to take when you use these tools? So to answer these questions, I have 4 experts. And I have to admit that these discussions will be very rich. So we have Vincent Trelli, President of Apsis. So you are an expert in digital in health. You have also Quentin Letiec, which is a cybersecurity expert in health. Moedi Nabash, cybersecurity practice leader in Leosoft. And you have then Benjamin Leroux, Chief Marketing Officer in Advance. You're also a member of CLUSIF, the Club of Security of Information in France. So as an introduction, I guess that all of you are very common with this concept and topic. Just to give you some information, I try to give you more information about the acronym. So we have EDR, Endpoint Detection and Response, XDR, Extended Detection and Response, MDR, Managed Direction and Response. So that's it for the acronyms. We haven't said a lot, actually. So maybe we could have a first question, trying to define more precisely these tools. Is this definition is clear? Are there any more borders, any clear borders, or is it a bit blur? Benjamin Leroux, could you please start? Hello, everyone. EDR, let's start with this one. So endpoint detection and response. It is a solution which is more on a software. It will protect endpoint, what is related to information systems. So what is interesting in endpoint, these are workplaces, but not only, can be servers, mobile servers. So the objective of EDR is the detection and response, to detect problem, attacks, behaviors, and response. To not just say, okay, there is something wrong, we try to fix it. For example, with quarantines, we have to react to the attack. So it is quite a recent tool, a few years now, but it was presented as the next step of the antivirus. So it is a first step. For the network, we have the MDR, Managed Direction Response. So it's more about the idea of collecting information, not just on endpoint, but on network flows, to block, for example. And once we've done it, we continue with an acronym. We add more letters, we have the endpoint, we have the servers, and if I want to collect information and monitor a bit everything, when we have everything when we want to put everything in acronym, we put an X, so extended detection and response, so to collect more information with the more sources possible. It can be workplaces, servers, DM solutions, to try to detect the problems and to answer the quickest possible. And once we manage all of this with a MSSP provider, we talk about MDR, Managed Detection and Response. With all these functions doing on an external aspect. We do feel that there is a question of definition that it's a bit blurred, it's not very clear. Sometimes it depends on the editors and the publishers. So maybe, Mouedine, would you have something to say about it? How can we make it more clear? So yeah, technology, depending on the publisher, it will have a different efficiency and reality, but also depending on the information we have. But to answer to your question, we should have a discussion with the publishers. Some of them will send you a product that is fully packaged. We mentioned extended, and extended, what do we put? For the next gen antivirus, we had the ciphering of some information of disks. Sometimes it's more on a theoretical aspect, as we will say, depending on the initial tool. Sometimes XDR is also a replacement, while it should be a complement. Sometimes we will have behavior analysis. Sometimes we have analysis through IOC. Sometimes we have reaction, sometimes we won't. It all depends on the technology that we have in direct interaction it has with the information system. So yeah, different realities, but we still have one foundation for all these elements is the use of telemetric data. When you join them, you will be able to detect, have a response. Can we come back on this a bit later, Quentin? Yes, indeed. The objective is to base on logging existing system. We have unified log systems. All pro objective is to unify them and to put them in one timeline and to see that on one machine A, we have something that happened, and on machine B, we have something else. With one central platform. This way we have a unified system. With only the machines, we could deduce a lot of things, but today, all the projects are going for XDR, MDR on the long range already there. So we have information on the endpoint. Endpoint in just as Benoit was saying. Benjamin, sorry. It's more than a simple the endpoint. It can be the TC depending on the strategy of deployment. Also for the network interaction that can be monitored with different elements. So this way we can have a broader response of what is happening. So we have this tool that can help us with this, and it's very helpful for all of us, for the people, for internal teams, for the response teams, when it's well implemented. But centrally, it is the strength of this type of tool is to gather all these sources and to have a complete and broad view. Yes, very important indeed. And the dream of all SSE is the exhaustive aspect. If you go lower in the health system, the dream is to say everything that is connected will benefit from a certain level of monitoring, detection, response. But in a hospital, once we treated the 10,000 computers, we also have the IMR, scanners, echography, robots for food, for medicine, drugs, all the objects. And even we go further with the connected forks. All these tools that are in the hospital have a digital layer and should have a tool that can help us to detect if there are any malfunctioning. But it's not enough. Because I was talking yesterday with an expert, if EDR is flashing, it's that we missed something. Is that there is a threat that had reached the endpoint. Why? How is it possible? Why wasn't it stopped by all the more traditional aspects like probe detection of intrusion, flow management detection? It is a comprehensive system, and if you want this system to work, it has to be complete, it has to be exhaustive, because if you have 99% of the system that is protected and not 1%, it's not okay. Yeah, we will come back on this more architectural aspect. These tools alone are not enough. Of course, we will come back on the importance of thinking on a more global system and ecosystem. We'll focus on health here because a lot of you here are coming from this industry, and it is what we are focused on this morning. To make it a bit clearer, health, we all agree. We have to stop with the psychosis and not the most targeted system. You sent a LinkedIn post saying that your knee scanner is not that expensive, so it's not the main target for the hackers. It's not the main target. So we have two elements. There's a health system that could be an industry that can be attacked, and the hackers attack it by blocking it, but we don't pay, so maybe they will stop. And then we have the health data, where some folders and information can be sold, sometimes very expensive, mainly in the US. So we don't have the proof of people buying this information, but in France we haven't seen very clear and smart sorting. It's a bit like when you give a €2 coin to the children. It's not because you say it's 600 value that it will be bought. It's not because the data that is well sorted that it is really. We do not have any proof of buying. We have a lot of concepts that could be sold in X or Y system. So for example, for this NICAB IMR, it could be interesting for insurance, for example, but I promise that if one day we learn that one insurance bought this type of data, I bet that the CNIL will rush on them and they will be very heavily punished. We do understand that we can find these things, so if it would be bought, there will be investigation. Yes, if we learn that we can find hospital data raw or sorted in an information system, for example, for a bank or an insurance, there will be huge consequences, of course. And for the health system, it's not that targeted. Why? Because we have a knowledge level. We centralize all the incidents. They have to declare. The health and hospital system have to declare when they have a problem. So we have very clear figures. So for example, for industries, SMEs don't always know who to talk to, who to say or to declare when they had an incident. So we don't have a more exhaustive aspect on this topic. But for the health, I think we have the third in terms of ranking of reporting. For ransomware, we have 100% of ransomware rate. All the entities tell us and report to us when they have an incident. For the establishment that have an RSSI, sometimes we even discuss with the board for the smaller health centers. So for the statistic, we can look like we are a big entity. I think it's about 10% of the attack. For the statistic, it depends on your point of view, depending on the data pool, what is being watched. It may be related to the fact that data, of course, is an indicator of the health of a country. So if it's sensitive, that's why it's so important. Yes, when I prepared this roundtable, we discussed, we noticed, we won't come back on the COVID, but the indicator of our health system in France represent also the state of the country and the value we can have on these teams. And it's very important to insist on this topic. In this analysis, we have one small information that is missing. It is the geopolitical unsettling. And if our health is a way to measure the efficiency of our system in France, this unsettling could create some incident on this establishment. I don't want to say only hospitals, because we can have health centers, also laboratories. Laboratories where, of course, we will play an important role in the organization, also for the Olympic Games coming. And this geopolitical destabilization is very important today and tomorrow, and we also saw yesterday, in 2020 during COVID, some attack happened on hospitals where we were applauding the doctors, and in the same time we say, okay, our health system is not is not in a well shape to face this attack. Yes, it was a real revelation. For the context on the health system in general, even though there are some industries where we are a bit forward, but the general trend is that we're coming from a long way. We have a broad context of maturity. Some equipment are getting a bit old. For you, Vincent Trelli, what is the general decorum, the general context in terms of health for the cyber aspect? Thank you very much for this. Well, actually, our health system, I'll be a bit simple, but let me be clear. Before 2000, there were nothing. Some software were used by HR and finance. Starting from 2000, we had new systems with open hospital system. It is the great era of digitalization. Sorry. It was implemented everywhere with robots for delivering drugs, with imagery. Everything is being automized. We mentioned it with an hospital that was been under attack a few time ago. More than 95% of functions are digitalized. So once a hospital is attacked, the people cannot work anymore. On the whole administrative aspect, we try to get back to the system. For the care itself, you don't have any access to any information, but the doctors can still work, the nurses too. So we really have a lack of organization. So we progressed on it with information system, and I want to insist on this. I have 30 experience in this. These are the more complex that I could meet in my entire life. And I work also with bank and funding systems. So the system of a hospital, of a big hospital, can collect more than 250,000 systems that are being all connected together, hundreds of necessities of external connection in real time or occasionally, and a lot of people to whom we ask to cooperate. So they want to open communication flow with the entire world. This is a reality. So to come back to your question, a young system that was built on 20 years, very quickly, with forgotten words like urbanism, architecture, we just pile up layers. So these systems of information are fragile, vulnerabilities to the situation. For 15 years, we don't have a lot of money. So we try to save money. How do? We don't update the computers. So today we are in a situation we have thousands of computers that are being old and updated. And like Quentin was saying, we suddenly have an increase of the risks and cryptovirus, and I complete what is being said. Hospital is not targeted, but it's just a casualty. So when we hear that a hospital has been cyber attacked, the hacker is not the even aware of this. They were suddenly discovered, and sometimes they are a bit bothered because we don't pay. And some of the hackers do have some moral and say, oh, honestly, I have something else to do.
Yes, Vincent gave a really great analysis where the hospital is there to accompany and treat people, and today medical background knows how to accompany people without digital tools. So, and this is important. This is what makes, you know, the success of French healthcare, and this is where we need to accompany more and more all of us today, because we are all actors that are reunited with different interests, but the same objective. We want to give help to those facilities. And there's a notion that is important that I noticed as an outsider, because we do not work in a hospital directly, but it's the usage of robots. And this is where I see that there are new tools in order to operate on people. And I see on a personal level, because I have experienced it myself, the usage of those robots sometimes is a little problematic, but it brings a new technology that is connected, but it also brings on the table new problems, and we need to protect ourselves. A few years ago, we didn't have internet connected robots. Quentin, I see that you react. Yes, exactly. A hospital, there are a lot of things that allows a lot of IT tools. But for example, when you order food, it's digitalized. And if there's a cyber attack, then you are not able to deliver food to the patients. And we see that surgeons have a tool that is internet, but they still ask themselves questions, and they will ask those questions online. And, you know, for example, they don't have their books with them, so they look online during surgery. So it is quite amazing to have internet access. So when they cut off internet on the lower floor, there was no longer internet on the top floor, and that created a problem. IT is important. They know how to do without it, but it is a tool that is greatly appreciated. Automatic response. Let's say that we are afraid, for example, when it comes to scans. You know, like if you are inside the scan machine, you're not really keen on being, you know, that person inside. You know, who knows if there's like network outage. You know, you don't want to be in that machine. So I'm not always trusting of that. I mean, it is an exception, but indeed, IT system is built with a rather old information and old products. Some of them are really old and complex. So for some of them, you know, you don't want to change your scan every 5 years because it's very expensive. But in order to keep yourself at the level of the security, sometimes you need to change every 5 years. Okay, so this is something that we talked about, risks and obligations. Things change. There were many regulations, programs that were put into place. I didn't find the EDR numbers specifically for the hospital, but I know that 90% of the companies, of the infrastructures that have the EDR, so Benjamin, do you say that that was like a lever, or was it more constraining to have this new technology? I'm going to make a comment on the barometer. It's rather public structures of a certain volume. So the 90%, it is not general. It depends how big the hospital, for example. So we talked about it. There's been a rise of threat. And also in terms of regulation and obligation, there were things that were implemented in France with a special plan called Plan Relance that enabled purchasing of cybersecurity system. So these are things that are rather positive, but also that kind of help. Once you don't have this help anymore, do you maintain the solution? Do you renew the solution? It's always complicated because of public money. So we can also mention NIS2, which is very important this year. If we'll need a SOC or EDR, it's going to be complex. It's still in progress, but it is possible that if we have an essential entity, we will need to implement a SOC. It will go towards this idea, but beyond the regulatory, there is a big deployment of the EDR. And this is a response to the threat rather than the obligation, which is a good thing, but when we do things without being obligated and kind of punished, it is a good thing. So this is more of a financial aspect, but once we have said that, there is the work of implementation, the functionalities. It is far from being magical tools, and we need to prepare the field. The timing is very important, and we kind of start from scratch. And we need to integrate this idea and a global reinforcement idea. And it is really time sensitive. There are things, priority work. It is not going to be a tool that we will just be able to have work on the spot. It is a long project that requires investment. It's kind of like, when I subscribe to my gym, my gym membership, there's only the manager of my gym that is happy because, as you can tell, I don't work out that much. But we really need to have a thought-out plan that is iterated. It is not magical. It will work for us on systems that are rather unstable because you'll have machines that get into domains that are complex. Our target, sometimes we discover shadow IT in insider systems, but for the project to be successful, the main idea is not to have it installed when it is a crisis, is to have it installed before the crisis happens. I'm not going to use the AI term in order to talk about training. They teach metrics and things like that. But if the habits are not real because it is an incident response, the AI is going to adapt to those patterns. So obviously, we appreciate that in terms of incident response, but this is not something that we will use for training. So we have tried to implement some metrics. So you encourage the ORADAD audit. Oh, okay, so a wrong term that she used. Healthcare. Okay, sorry, speaks very fast. So for other establishments that don't have access to RADAD, there's a Pinkelnight, there's many ways that you can assess your security level. But the minimum for me is to have a level 2 before you can install the EDR. Level 3 is ideal. And after you have a cyber attack, and then you can actually lay down everything within a week, we can see establishments that went up to level 3 or 4 because they did things rather fast and they had outside providers providers to help them, that they paid, but it is an indicator of health that we need to have a basis on. There are priorities before EDR. We're not going to just put a Band-Aid on an open wound. It's not a good idea. Maybe we need stitches first. Okay, so we expect a strong investment, and after this, after we've deployed that, the work is ongoing. We need to continue investing, training, working on workshops, things like that. In terms of healthcare, there are many. Like, for example, false positives. This training phase, Benjamin Roux, is very important, and people need to be prepared for it. Yes, what we have not talked about in definition is that the advantage of EDR is the behavior aspect, is to look for diseases that we know already in order to, like, maybe detect some weird behaviors so that we can detect a disease. This data collection enables people to do some forecasting a little bit. So when we deploy EDR, we need to integrate this. EDR is rather passive. It listens, it collects data. This is normal, this is not normal, and little by little, you can activate some modes that are more active, that can potentially block threats, and this is where EDR will deploy its full potential. And this is something that will take a few months in order to avoid, what Quentin was saying, like to block someone in a scan, a tip scan machine, and cause some mistakes. If a doctor sees his job blocked by cyber, he's never going to want to do cyber security again. So we need to take time to deploy things in the right way. This is something that we can do in a few months. It's not necessarily years. We have to be optimistic. But first of all, we have to listen. We have to detect and see what is going on. And then we can activate some reaction response. So how many months would you say we need? Well, there are two things. What information system are you going to use? Whether it's in a lab or a hospital, is to, it makes the subject a little bit complex, and we have some barriers. And its scope. The second thing is the learning phase, is to have it validated. So once we go through that, we go in detection mode. And then the other aspect is a feedback that is very important. Joe Biden made a quote that was really interesting. How can you detect something that is unknown? If the attacker is already residing in the system, maybe not in the healthcare industry, but how can this threat can stay 9-12 months to collect data and then react and then be detected. The day you implement this learning phase, we have methods that is rather close to the job in order to understand the job. And the trick here is to not detect what we do not know, thinking that it is the nominal functioning of this. So how do we do to get there? Well, there's no magic wand. Is to first understand how the information system works, how our analysts, we were actually talking about it yesterday around a round table, they need to be very close to the business, the cyber business. We need to understand how the information system works. We need to understand how people work in the hospital, for example. When we prepare surgery block, how do you reserve it? How do you have the robot function? And how does the admin work, all the paperwork? And then we have to assimilate this tool. And the more we'll be efficient on detection, the more we'll be efficient in detecting all those mistakes. So this learning phase is very important in the healthcare industry. It is a very open industry. with maybe alerts and false positive. If you turn on a security system in a hospital, you take out the box, it just blinks everywhere, right, for some time. And indeed, it is what has just been said, actually, and it needs to learn. So what is the context? Okay, so here we have functionalities, certain way, we have obsolete things that we will accept. Yes, we'll accept those, make exception, otherwise the scanner doesn't work. So we'll tell the EDR that this thing that is a normal, considered being normal, so that it stops blinking. And this is how we will have to get to the understanding the training part. And let's not forget that we always start everything that is not authorized is forbidden. So that means everything is forbidden, everything is closed, and we will open, some flaws. I mean, it is surprising to say that, but we will open a few things because there is a business reality, and it's flows, connected material that can be old. A big problem is very simple, is the lifespan of medical tool is between 15 and 20 years. So what we may find abnormal today is industrial that will sell you extraordinary tools, MRI tools, and just like amazing technology, and that would tell you it just works with an XP base, and this is really surprising because it's just, it is always this way. Like even today, 2024, you'll purchase an MRI machine that costs over €1 million that is supported with Windows XP. And we will tell you not to install EDR because it can create some failure. And this is something that they will tell you from the get-go. So if someone has a heart attack, he will... Okay, that's a metaphor that's not translatable, but... So to answer your question, you need to teach those tools. There are behaviors. Sometimes we'll see doctors and tell them, oh, you cannot do that. But the doctor will say, no, this is my job. We save lives, so you will not tell me not to do that because that is no good reason. So there's some negotiation there, and it allows to correct some behaviors. I'll give you an example. How does a doctor that just did all the examination on a child was beaten up, and how do you transmit that information to a lawyer and a judge? Well, he will transmit that information through Gmail, and we ask, why do you not have a platform that creates, some sort of security? You stop like sending each other emails, but have a secure platform and tools to, you'll see that there are many flaws, and we need to find long-term solutions. So you need to give solutions, but give an explanation to those solutions. So what is important is to have things that are secured by design, a real dialogue between people, so providers, manufacturers, healthcare professionals. And the example that he just gave, I have a platform that is really great. It's called CHAP. We have many platforms that a lot of people don't know about it. For example, I just learned about Risana to create documents together, and it is something many people don't know. And we are lucky to have them, but the thing is that we do not know that they exist, and rather it can be in a practice of like implementing EDR. We have a bunch of tools that maybe the IT team needs to be clean. right? In the admin fields, you know. Okay, so he's talking about secured account. There are flaws. So not to have admin account depends on the granularity of the EDR. It is a bad practice. When you start the implementation, we think about it in terms of 3-6 months. We realize we have a lot of shadow IT. We need to, you know, go see the user to give them advice to go from the top down, like CEO down to the user in the system. And with this methodology, the idea is like to push EDR if it has methodology. We need to put it everywhere possible. If your editor, your scan editor says, oh, you cannot put it on this sector, there are areas where the EDR will have a hard time to detect where the agent is or not. So I think that Benjamin has an instance where this happened. It just went through the...
Yes, just before reacting on this case, I just wanted to say that EDR is great. Of course, it's not a miracle, but it does allow us to increase the security level in a lot of contexts. But deploying EDR, even in the loading step, we put light on rooms that were in the dark for a long time, so we see spider webs, scary things, so we have to clean it up. And as Quentin was saying about the gym, we will focus on the alert and manage our security, so it is very precious, very useful. And we are sure that he provided a lot of information. So, of course, there are a lot of criteria. It's not a miracle because EDR, if you do not put it everywhere, we will have an incident, and sometimes the attackers are clever. I put 80% of the park which is open, so they went through the 20% with a forgotten machine with the remote access from a maintenance member who connected for the same password for 5 years ago. This an open door. We can see it a lot of time. Of course, there are some exceptions, some holes, but it is still positive. It's not magical, but it's positive. Of course, it's very important. Mueddin, we have a real topic that we all mentioned, is the commitment of builders, editors, publishers to update our tools. It seems exemplary because these tools are used. To update them in a more safety and security way. It's not yet in the use, and in INCYBER we are very used to this. With Advance, we both are provided. It is obvious, it is paramount that our detection system are state-of-the-art in terms of condition, but also for security. If all tools or detection tools, including EDR, XDR, MDR, all the tools, even CTI, if it's not state-of-the-art, we are blind on the system we monitor. And how do we act? Of course, there is a lack of means, which is probably real. But how do we react when eventually we don't have the red flag, the green flag, sorry, for the conditioning of security? And we saw it in the industry a few years ago when we had automations that were solved by some structures. There was selling a maintenance system which were excellent in terms of performance, but they were saying, okay, we do not have this maintenance for security. We want to make the code evolve. It will remain the same for 10 years. So the solution is a contract. Industrials decided to create a contract for this maintenance. Also for security, it's not yet very common, especially in hospitals or health systems. Quentin? And about this topic, it is the real stake that is behind. It is a stake for a whole society. Let's take a big French group working with cars, so you don't know which one I'm talking about. There are several. If they are targeted by a ransomware, they lose money. If a hospital, if you hit on the right topic. It's not money, it's something more important. And this is why tools is useful, but automation, we still are a bit careful on some topics, on more specific topics. For endpoint, for example, the laptop of the doctor, very few risks to put it. But there are more strategic topic places for the EDR deployment. Deployment everywhere. Response strategy with automatic or semi-automatic response. You can send you an email. Do you want to isolate this machine, put it in quarantine? We call the system and say, are you being using this machine? Yes, no. No, I put it in quarantine. Yes, I'm waiting for the end of your intervention. There is also a strategy of actions of the playbook that are implemented. You can do it on the intern aspect or with your for providers. You here have to work on it, because if you are attacked, or if we detect that something is happening, if you don't know what to do, if you cut automatically, we can create a huge impact that wasn't necessary. Yeah, talking about the management and monitoring of the alerts that are proposed, can a health system, can a health center can manage it internally for all the management, like for the MDR? Can the hospital do it on the intern, or is it necessary to call for a managed service? It is a question, Vincent Rie. Yes, it is a question that the health system should ask itself. The health system, like any other, have reached a maturity level where we have to sit around the table and say, what do we do, what don't we do? So I ask the question, does the health system have to hire, maintain 10,000 IT cyber technician for the hospitals? I don't know. The state didn't answer. But hospitals do as they can and as they want. So today, a hospital could decide, okay, I will hire 5 people. I have a team. But does the hospital have the means for so? Some of them, yes. There are some teams where SOC and EDR is internal. Sometimes it's externalized. We don't have a good answer. The bigger they are, the bigger the hospitals are, the more the team are efficient, because you cannot be alone behind your tool. This is a question of scale. And as Quentin was saying, I think that you can use this rule of 80-20. Everything is used in an industrial scale on the external way with 80%, and there are some subtleties. They ask for a more knowledgeable aspect, so we will find some models that were hybrid between places where, because they don't have the new resources, so they will try to implement close to 100%, and in some hospitals or health centers, they will have a staff, big hospitals, where we have a lot of people, where we can say, okay, so we have tools, but we also can have a team using these tools, increasing them, improving them. And third solution could be, it is also the care cyber acceleration is opening, is demutualization. Why the 10 hospitals from one department couldn't create a departmental team that would be in charge of monitoring and maintaining the EDI? Why not at the regional level? All models are possible. And we will see the evolution depending on the context. So yeah, there is a real question of scope, Mouedine, on this management. We are actually proposing this type of service, so we're not objective. But there's an important question. You just say one word just before the answer. Means. Can be on the intern or extern. We will need means. And the real topic today is what are the means we provide to the health systems to have access to this type of service on the internal or hybrid or external. And one of the key is to find solutions to this question. And I think that today a lot of people here in the room say, okay, if we don't have the means, we won't be able to implement it. And we gave one, which is pretty good. So the mutualization, the gathering of structures to buy a cyber service. It is something that we observe a lot. We saw it in different domains, for example, for cities, regions, etc. So it is being more and more present for the health system, and as a managed system, the more volume we have, the more cheaper it gets. And we will find a way to adapt to the means in these services. Moreover, we think that we have to be actors to help these health systems. I know that some people won't like it, but we propose this service, and I think that like lawyers, like legal aid, they have pro bono actions to help in the public sector for free or for a lower cost. I think that we also should help on a security aspect to establish strategy, development, roadmap, and why not with a pluriannual budget for the hospitals. I think it is important. And regarding the number of SN we have here today on the forum, if we, all of us, say, okay, we take 10 days to support the hospital, we will have a very strong social action and of public help. I think that a lot of people here in the room will be interested by this project. I will let you talk about this with you and your friends. But yeah, why not? Quentin, seeing you want to react. No, yeah, about this mutualization, there is something which is existing on the territorial level. So we have some EDR that are managed on the internal level with the regional groupment. So it's a hybrid model with the all technical aspect, which is external, and the technical aspect is internal with an internal analyst answering all the questions. In any case, we need someone from the inside with SOC management, with an internal expert that can explain everything. If the internal aspect, you do not have any vision, you won't have any vision on what is happening. You won't be able to demystify this, any alert. Sometimes some connections, some logs can be very legitimate. For example, at 3 a.m., someone wants to connect at 3 a.m. because they cannot sleep, and it's okay. And we, of course, we will receive an alert, but we have to be able to identify it as a threat or not. Of course, we receive an alert because it's 3 a.m., it's weird, they did not connect through the logical way, but it is a reality, so behind we have to just say, okay, yes, sorry, it's me, I shouldn't have connected at 3 a.m. We always need an interaction between the internal service and the teams on the ground. Taking the example of the hospital in Lille, they don't know what is happening, don't know the other hospitals in the region, sorry. So yeah, big hospitals in big cities don't know everything that is happening in smaller hospitals. So they need someone from the other hospital saying, okay, this connection is normal, this action is normal. Benjamin, you wanted to react? Yes, about the management on the more advanced aspect. Of course, we propose this service, but I still think that it is necessary in a lot of structures. We have a big problem of resources, of means from the budget, but also for human. To recruit new cyber experts every year, we say it, it is complicated to hire this type of people, especially for a hospital, and to make them more loyal, because you have to treat a lot every day in the same context, in health or in any other context. It can be boring. So these activities, in terms of security, SOC, it is complicated to manage on the long run. So to give you a figure, we have more than 250,000 endpoints on hospitals. So there is a real need. There are big hospitals that externalize this need in the same way that we can see in private. Some companies create their own SOC, some call for external experts, but yeah. We would be very happy to have more means, more mutualization, but today we have a need of this market of service, because if not, we won't go fast enough. We had a strong increase these few years, but I think that a great momentum and should be happy about it. But we still have a lot to do. And all this reflection, trying to mutualize, internalize, I think it could take more time than it should regarding the intensification of the attacks. Thank you for these precisions. We don't have much time. I would like to have the time to take you some questions, maybe more practical. What are the criteria to choose this type of tool? Vincent Turelli, you told me that it is a database, which is at the very core for this tool. I would go a bit further and say, yes, we mentioned it. To choose, you need to test first. We can test and see how it works, but eventually, yeah, I would like to see and understand how the editor, the publisher that proposes this solution, if I have to buy it from my hospital, I would like to try to find how this publisher evolved this knowledge base, event base. In an ideal world, where we say, okay, this event base produced on the computer is a worldwide connected one with millions of actors, and every day we have novelties of qualified problems. This way I can benefit from a technology that is unified every day and providing me information on my different posts and computers in a very trustworthy way, rather than discussing with competition, saying I have the best one, etc. So maybe the industry as itself, we have the industry, we also have the data bank, and this is an important point. That would be your criteria. Mouhidine, do you have elements to provide in terms of criteria, maybe to be aware of your needs? Well, yes, aware of your needs, but also of where we are. Let's forget EDR, XDR. Maybe a bit annoying for the publisher, but they all look alike. And the objective is to answer to the same problem. So, in general, when someone is evolving, the other will follow. So, of course, it's a good news because this market is evolving and very dynamic. We are part of this because as Advance we have engagement and commitment with publishers, so I won't specifically talk about these tools, but if I want to go a bit lower, the first step, where are we in terms of security of my information system? Am I able to analyze my process for jobs, for IT, vulnerabilities for my information system at the very lowest level? Do I have a CMDB? Do I have an asset list? And once we have all these data analyzed, then we can implement an action plan to improve the security of the system. It is coherent. We don't need to go further. We just have to start from the foundation. I want a picture of my health, of the health of my system, a picture, and then we will implement an action plan. We don't have much time, but I would like to have your vision for the future. What will be the evolution? What will be the trends? What should we cover in the future that is not yet covered yet? Quentin, I let you the word. So my expectation today, we have a broad vision with the log network IPS probe, which is pretty complete. So we should start by using it correctly with the correlation of the log more deeper. It is ongoing. The good aspect is that they all look alike. When we look on the EDR, any case, they're all the same. The console is the same, just need to click in a different tab. Sorry, publisher, but you're all copying each other. So it's great for us because it's very uniform. For the evolution, once one will have a good idea, the others will follow, of course. What we would like for the open source aspect that we are defining is to have feeds of CTI well built where we could support our tools with a database for the circle point of view. A lot we use. It's very useful, so that would be great to have tools. The tool itself is not that important. It can do a lot by itself, but the knowledge base on which it lays could be the bigger one, the more consolidated one. That would be perfect. Biggest base possible. Vincent, at the beginning you talked about covering industries and equipment that are not yet covered. For the industrial, biomedical, it is important to put it within the scope. Yes, it is essential. Health will be one of the biggest generators of IoT, because we will put it a lot for the patients. We want to leave the patient at home. We will monitor from remote. We will observe them with probes and sensors. Why? Because we are committed in this revolution for home hospitalization. Every year we hear we've been hearing for 20 years that government close beds in hospitals. It is normal, because the objective is to keep the less possible people in the hospital, because they want it. So we come in the morning, we leave at the evening, we recover at home. So we will implement a lot of probes, sensors. All these tools will be digital. They will have an iOS. They will have communication systems. These are devices. So yeah, we will have for this security system, protection system of these tools to go beyond and not just cover computers, but smartphone, all the thermometers and the robots at home that will interact with aging people. We don't have enough room for all these old people in the hospitals or nursing homes. So all this generation of baby boomers is coming, and they don't have any room in hospitals and in nursing homes. So we have to keep them at home, and it is what they wish. So reach challenges for a whole of devices that have to be trustworthy. A brighter scope. Okay, Benjamin Leroux, Mouedine Abache, I would like to give you your vision for the future. The future is for the hospitals to say that if we started with EDR, we will continue with the SOC trajectory, with the MDR, XDR, around the identity of a directory. So we already have an existing market that allow the hospital to create their own future in terms of deployment of solution of detection and response. And for me, one of the biggest expectation is the devices that we just mentioned. Not a computer, not a piece of network, with the biomedical and IoT that we will have to integrate. Mouedine? I won't be very innovative, but for a concept that worked a lot in the industry, it's to go back to the basics of cybersecurity. Cybersecurity at the beginning was a community topic, so community has to be created around the cybersecurity. Health systems have to focus on this. And we also have to come back on how we bring a normal information system toward a secured one. Get back with the basic, working with our colleagues, with the publishers, the providers, the builders. And I think that the condition would be to work cleverly, smartly. It will create a way to improve. Thank you very much. Quentin, I see you. Sorry, yes, I want to make it quick. All the tools that will be coming have to be security by design. And if it's IoT, because it won't last long, it cannot have an EDR, have at least a log system which is internal. We have so many times that we don't have a cannot look inside. If also it could be the possibility because it is a network and IoT. If you do not have a hardware, send it, gather it in one server, so this way we can have a look at it. We can put a console, for example, of EDR, CM, all these logs to say, okay, there is one OT in this place with this address, it doesn't work, why? We should have a look at it. And we have a complete log for the IC or for OT. We can go further, and we hope that in this case use, we will have this type of tool from the beginning, with the system from the beginning. Very shortly, briefly. Autonomous transport, we didn't have any standards for security of the systems, and it will be coming through standardizing. So today there isn't any standards around the security of our systems, but maybe in the future with our core workers to try to organize normalization and standardization for this topic. Thank you very much. Thank you all for our speakers, for this very rich exchanges and discussion. Thank you all, public, for your presence and good continuation on the forum. Thank you.